Hello everyone, my name is Binks and welcome back to Let's Play The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where we will be continuing in the second case of the game, the Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Which last episode, I was not happy. I was not happy. Oh, I think a lot of you probably even knew it was gonna happen, right? A lot of you have already seen this game or played it or knew already that poison was going to be the murder weapon, the way, the cause of death. And you're probably sitting there rubbing your hands together. Binks is gonna be pissed. Or you're like sitting there like, oh no, she's gonna be mad. Oh no, she's gonna be ranting. Or there's others of you who didn't know it was coming and were just as surprised. Or there's those of you who didn't know and was like, oh well. Oh, but anyway, yeah. Looks like he was poisoned. So, our dear frequent flyer client, Soseki Natsume, is in trouble again. Also, before hitting play, just to let you know, I found out there's an achievement that you can get for changing the outfits for our characters, so that's what I've done. So I will change their outfits. Since it's a flashback case, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. We know what they normally look like. It shouldn't be too groundbreaking. We already played for a bit with them wearing their regular clothes, so I'm just gonna have them wearing the DLC bonus outfits for a bit. So should be fun to see them because they're cute outfits. So why not? Give me that achievement. Did I get it? Yay! Bespoke tailor for playing the game in all available outfits. Cool. All right. Now I can examine now that the detective is not around, inspector, whatever. So, let's look around. Yeah. Look at these extravagant bright costumes. Somehow, they look out of place in this room with its grim, shady goings-on. Oh, she looks so cute! I like this outfit. Apparently, I guess Iris made them? Very nice. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? I've always dreamt of being a king. No, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord. A daimyo or such like. Oh gosh, I hear daimyo and I think of Paranormal Sight. That game was really good. I have mixed feelings about the ending, but it was really good. With the chanmage top knot, every Japanese man wishes he had a chanmage. Chanmage? Chanmage? I don't know. Oh, you'd look wonderful with one. And you already have the sword. Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chanmage and a... Chanmage? Never heard of that term. And a sword? I know what it looks like, but never actually seen the term. But... oh, what's this? What's this? It looks like part of an envelope, I think. Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened. Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps. When you look around the room, there's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Ah, she's right. And yet here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I agree. We better take this just in case. Actually taking it? Or are you just making note of it? An armband I inherited from Kazuma. Aw. Secondhand book receipt. Submitted as evidence in the trial the other day. Let's look at it again. Your books again. My birthday, February 17th. Cool. Okay, so the 3 books that we listed the other day. Street map again. Submitted as evidence. So we're gonna need this again. Briar Road, the lodgings, bourbon books, your books. And now this. Turn off. Has an interesting shape to it. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Very unique shape, right? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sato, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never. Okay. There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Oh, Van Zieks. Prosecutor Lord Van Zieks. Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. Right? Always throwing them around like nothing. You can suggest it next time we meet. I'll probably throw it at your head. He's a violent man. Okay. The window is not really a window. As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay. What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property. It's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Huh, if you only knew how things are these days, too. Oh! What is it, Mr. Sato? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Oh, I do see that. Oh, more soap? What the frick is going on here with the soap? Oh yes, it looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspeare who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room? Is there some kind of conspiracy with the soap? Are they smuggling stuff with the soap? Look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside there's a little ledge, and there's something on it. What, outside? Ugh, it's so cold outside. You can feel it through this gap. It did snow all last night. It would be cold. And more importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that. Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window. I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at this soap. Ah! Do you see? Oh, do you see in the middle there? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but... some sort of fancy design, I suppose? Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinomaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. No, it's some kind of secret or something hidden inside. Like smuggling something inside. Expensive? What's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Was Olive Green in on it and that's why she was here? On her way here? And she is an art student, right? Are all three of them in on it? Something big is going down. Nothing else? No, I guess not. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Nothing else about the phone? And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. Oh, I thought that was the phone. That's the gas meter, okay. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Ah, yeah, I see. Yes, now that you've pointed it out. I can see that there's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. God, I'm over here freezing. Our heater went out, so I'm like, I'm so cold. Oh. So you mean if you put a coin in here? That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. Oh, that would be nice if I had that right now. So, if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold. Huh. I know what that's like, bro. Yes, or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. Oh, okay, lamp. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? Must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garritup had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. So much cozier. Okay. This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit, though? For the nightly Shakespeare. Shakespeare instead of Shamspeare. That's his name. Shakespeare performances. Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. What? Then you could practice your art every single day. I'll think about it if you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. Aw, you go, Susato. This I have to see. She didn't say no. What a great assistant. Okay, it's the same. Alright. Come on, come on. Anything else? Important? New? No? Alright, then it's just the body. Which I saved for last. Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was? I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder... Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? Sorry? I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread it now. One moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? Okay. Did I miss something? Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Oh, the teacup again? Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamspeare and his guests drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true. So, one was Mr. Shamspeare's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. Saseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. One with the green line when we're in the room was Mr. Natsume's. Okay, that's it. Who's this? Did he come back? Inspector Gregson? Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Yep, it's him. Well, what did you expect? You left us alone. Inspector Gregson, back so soon. After I threw that little Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we'd better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in a cell again so soon. I'm sure. We should probably go and, he's still alive. You guys didn't even check if he was still alive? What the frick? He was still warm. I was kind of wondering about that. I was like, wait a minute, if he's still warm then, but I didn't say anything because I was like, oh, well, they found him right away. And I was like, well, obviously they would have at least checked if he was still alive, right? No, apparently they're idiots and they didn't even check if he was alive. Stupid. Oh my god, the lack of professionalism. Wow, Gregson. Wow. I know you didn't have a coroner, but like, come on. This poor man, he was suffering in cold and he was still alive. Hey, another nut murder. Hey, Olive Green, back to back. Natsume, looks like you didn't kill somebody back to back. Oh, you poor man. Glad you're okay, dude. Barely get to talk to you again, so... What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah! Oh my god. Wow. Out! Out, brief gander! Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player. Wow. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. For a man who was almost dead, you just did an epic performance. Was this a huge prank? Like, what the frick? No. How soundeth the next part? It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. You actually know? Wow, were you an actor in a past life, Gregson? Indeed! Oh, happy day! Wow, the way he just collapsed. Walking Dead! Like the TV show that ended? Well, it has spin-off still, but... Bruh. The fella isn't dead at all. You didn't even check. What was that nonsense he was saying, though?
I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. I mean, he could have died, and all that time we were just standing around talking like idiots. And Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was.
Now it's attempted murder. Shady fella. Shady fella looking at the soap, huh? What you doing there, bro? 21st February, Briar Road.
Whatever do you think will happen now? Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life.
I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison as we deduced. But was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody.
I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Saseki-san's lodgings.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me, could we have a word?
Did he run? Shady?
He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember.
I don't remember. Man in yellow. I don't know. If it was the first game, I really don't remember. Maybe I haven't seen him. Maybe they've seen him. I don't know. They'll tell me. They'll say it. Let's look around. He was looking at that, obviously.
With the exception of the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garridub live, all the windows are bricked up.
Yes, and that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows a property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows.
But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely.
Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done.
Yes, that is a sad state of affairs.
Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume, who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room.
I suppose that's the price you pay for living in very cheap accommodation.
It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that.
Okay.
I mean, we've looked at this before. There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garridub residence.
It's all bent out of shape, too.
I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact.
That one seems very warped, though. Especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think?
No, I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly afflicted.
Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsume has been practicing on this bicycle, I think.
Oh dear, I fear you may be right. this whole building's all warped.
The Gyaradev household and Mr. Natsume's lodgings are in a prominent position there on the corner. Sometimes when I look at the building, I can't help feeling that it's at a bit of a slant.
It does rather look as though it would collapse in even the smallest earthquake, doesn't it?
And isn't it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have a hunch as to why Saseki-san has such a hunched back. Okay.
Now we're just looking at the backdrop.
London's blanketed in fog again today, and the sky is covered in cloud. But if you look in the distance, you can just make out the Crystal Tower being built.
Oh, yeah. Ah, the Crystal Tower, yes. The centerpiece of the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time.
Everyone's talking about the Great Exhibition of London at the moment, it seems.
Well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world, with technology and scientists from all over. I can't wait for it myself.
Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry?
The last great exhibition that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger success to outdo the Paris exhibition.
I see. It's an incredible number of people. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed.
There's always the honest approach of buying tickets at the main entrance, Mr. Nodohodo.
You don't have to sneak in, dude. Okay.
Oh, he's with the snowman.
Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think?
That's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body.
Really? But it already has a perfectly good body.
Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner.
And now we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man, I know how he feels.
If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen that are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections: head, torso, and legs.
Do you ever think that perhaps you think about things too much?
I actually don't like 2-ball snowmen. I think 3 looks better to me. Okay, so there's nothing else important then? That was just some fluff text? I guess not.
New location has been added.
Should we go back to the hospital? Oh, we could go talk to Mr. Gyaradev then. I thought we were completely kicked out of the building. Alright, Gyaradev. Here we go.
Here we are again. The eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode.
I gave him the same voice I gave the culprit in the last case, so here we go. Didn't think I would have the same voice. We're here because Mr. Garadab's the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget. At least we won't have him shouting because his wife is pouring tea on him anymore. Oh no, it's you. Well, how you doing? You're probably not so happy anymore without your wife here. Ah, you chaps,
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in calling yesterday.
It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garrideb as anyone, really.
Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more Bailey nonsense this morning.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrideb?
Yes, I suppose you'd not to know all about that dead loss of an actor trap in the ground floor bedroom.
Those were exactly... Oh, whoa, what voice was that, Banks?
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they?
Well, I guess we gotta, do we have to examine? I mean, we've looked around before. Is there gonna be anything new? Kinda don't want to. Well, I guess we could talk to him a little.
You look very dashing in your uniform there, Mr. Garrideb.
Ah, that old portrait, drawn by an art student who used to rent the room downstairs.
Oh, this is new. Maybe the girl used to rent the room downstairs? Oh, you look so wonderfully young and courageous and strong.
Yes, well,
Oh, so it wasn't her. Maybe it was her brother or boyfriend, whoever that guy was in the picture.
yes, well, the chap presented it to me one day and asked if I'd let him off the month's rent in return.
Oh, I see. So, you did, presumably?
I bally well did not.
Oh,
A portrait is a portrait, but rent is rent, huh?
And yet it's still there, proudly on the wall.
it's the same. Okay. I was clicking on the lion, but okay. Yes, yes. You and your stupid medal.
Good to see Mr. Garrideb's Medal of Honor still proudly displayed on the wall.
The inscription reads for distinguished participation, if you remember.
Yes, I remember, because I remember thinking even I might stand a chance of picking up honors like that.
Wouldn't know it to look at me now, perhaps, but I had my devil-may-care days, you know.
Devil may care? What did you get up to?
Well, all in the past now, of course, and best left there.
Best not. I want to know now.
Being all mysterious.
Oh yes, those enormous mortar shells. It's quite something, seeing them up close, isn't it?
Didn't you say something about firing them into the barracks, Mr. Garrideb?
Ah, you remember, do you? Just a little mishap that occurred during training one day. What are you doing firing on your own men? The captain bellowed at me.
I'm not surprised. A little mishap doesn't really do it justice, does it?
Well, one has these little incidents when one's a hot-headed young private.
Perhaps I should put some evidence that resulted from one of my little mishaps on display.
Oh, does the great lawyer, like the great detective, want to exhibit some trophies of his finest moments? Pictures of your wife, not... Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about your wife? That's your military uniform, isn't it, Mr. Garrideb?
Well, ceremonial garb, yes. Been hanging on the wall ever since my retirement bash. Not in active service now, you know. Doesn't mean much to me anymore. You could have the whole thing if you wanted it.
Well, it might suit Lord Van Zeeks, perhaps. An overly ostentatious outfit like this could be just what he needs.
Very tactful, Mrs. Sato. Very tactful indeed.
Oh, a copy of Ranced magazine. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is being read all over London. Isn't it wonderful?
Naturally, one asks oneself if such a singular detective could really exist. But having met the chap, it's undeniable. He is most certainly singular. Singularly dangerous.
That's genuine public opinion for you, Mr. Sato. Perhaps it should be reflected in the stories.
Make no mistake, Mr. Nedahodo. I intend to snuff out the sort of public opinion we just heard, personally.
I'm starting to see where Mr. Holmes's untainted reputation comes from now.
Oh my. What do you plan to do to people who have that opinion?
There's a single apron drying on that enormous cannon-shaped clothes horse. Look.
No, Mr. Nedahodo, that's a real cannon.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Piece of history, that is. Seen plenty of action on the battlefield, I can tell you. Now the old girl and I are just enjoying the peace and quiet of retirement together. Then, of course, she'd come in handy if the enemy decided to launch an attack again.
Is there a war going on that I don't know about?
Speaking of old girls, you don't want to talk about your wife? Maybe it's too painful.
We know what that screen is hiding now. The aftermath of the fiery altercation the other day.
Huh. Don't suppose I'll be able to clean that mess up for some time now.
Oh dear, this must be a very difficult situation for you.
I'll say. People talk about twists of fate and whatnot. But this is a twist and a half. Rotten show all around.
He's clearly struggling with everything that's happened.
Yeah, I guess so. You still got all these cakes and stuff here?
That's an impressive collection of cakes on that fancy silver cake stand over there.
I feel sure that it was full of cakes when we first investigated in here as well.
Yes, quite right. Haven't touched it since. Haven't done much at all, really, since it all happened. Time's rather stood still for me, you know.
Oh,
Time has stood still. Well, that's an interesting phrase. I might be able to use that excuse when I'm next supposed to be tidying the office.
you could just tidy up, Mr. Nedahodo. Time never stands still, bro. It'd always be flying.
These shelves look like they've been completely torn apart by a wild beast.
Huh. Reminds me of the Battle of my wand, don't you know?
Ah, the experiences of a seasoned veteran.
Enemy had us surrounded on all sides. We really thought we were done for, and the whole Bally Company. We were taking a real pounding from their cannon, so all we could do was run for our lives.
Oh, I thought that story was going in a different direction, actually.
Well, the whole experience taught me one thing, I can tell you. When you're done for, you're really done for.
Ugh, that's not what a lawyer who often finds himself under fire wants to hear. It's a good view over the wintry East End from up here. It's an oppressively gray scene. There's really nothing comparable in Japan. And down below, Briar Road, partly blanketed in snow.
And the pavement where poor Miss Green was struck in the back by that knife.
Thinking about it, this is the only room in this building that actually has a window to the outside world. Sometimes Great Britain really does seem like a strange land, doesn't it?
I suppose all foreign cultures seem strange at first. Imagine how an Englishman would feel on arriving in Japan and seeing people with a chonmage topknot.
Well, that's a good point. Alright.
Let's, talk then.
Must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Well, that helpless actor chap rises at a 5 o'clock sharp each morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no barely answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door?
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the groundwork, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour.
That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning.
Well, better to be safe than sorry and all that. Why are you sweating?
Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden?
Was he behind on rent or something? What's up?
Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door.
The victim's name is Mr. Shamspear, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, William Shamspear. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
In a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a badly screw loose.
So hard to choose which category Saseki-san would fall into.
Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
Sometimes with the blue text, it's like, did they whisper that or do they think that and their sidekick actually could read their mind, you know? He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what?
Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that. Hamlet?
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sal, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there?
Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamspeare would have had much in common.
Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that.
Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude.
Okay.
After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning?
Well, now, must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. I failed actor chap was out at the time.
Mr. Karadev noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose.
Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so just sat on the front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shakespeare got back. The chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there.
Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Is everything all right, Mrs. Sato?
Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garadeb, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly?
Not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
Ah!
That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it?
I say, I know what you're thinking, and it's about the outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know?
Does he keep an eye on their gas or something?
I don't go around spying on my tenants, why would I?
Then how did you know, Mr. Garadeb?
It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything, yeah.
The gas?
Okay.
What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything?
Well, as you're probably aware, gas is supplied to the building by pipes.
Yes, I'd more or less worked that out.
Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main.
Yes, I understand that too.
Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to let the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose will happen?
Well, obviously the room would get brighter.
Exactly, but at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms in the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why?
Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual.
Oops, excuse me.
And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it? That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it?
Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe.
I mean, the same thing happens in my home, my building, because it's a 2-flat plus we have a basement, and all of the water is connected, unfortunately. So my grandparents used to live on the 2nd floor, and me and my mom lived on the first, and then my uncle lived in the basement. So because all the water is connected, we always had a hard time taking showers, because whenever they would, flush the toilet, wash dishes, take a shower, everybody would affect everybody else. And that's always been the struggle. So now that my grandparents are gone and my uncle has moved to a nursing home, the plan was for me to move to the 2nd floor. But now I'm kind of like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. I'd rather move out. So that's the big issue there. But anyway, I would rather, because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to deal with the water issue anymore. It's too much. It's a hassle. Having to have everything connected is a big pain, and to have to separate it, would make more sense. But yeah, this explanation with the gas, totally get it. But the problem is he's assuming that it was him, but anybody could have put money in the gas meter, Could have been the killer or whatever. I mean, we know he's alive, but still. Could have been Natsume, could have been whoever else. Could be used to fake an alibi or something. Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Yep,
It is.
jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out.
Very old-fashioned.
Barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here, they glow brighter in the rest of the house.
Oh, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You've got it.
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires.
Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use solid different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Cool.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garadab. Absolutely fascinating.
It's almost like a spy.
Well, nothing to it, really.
And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either.
Yeah, I don't know, Ryunosuke. I think it might be useful.
What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garadub is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity.
Yeah. Like, is he involved with whatever smuggling is going on or whatever?
Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
Yeah, like why he was so desperate to get into that room when he didn't answer at 5 a.m., right? A good idea. Alright. I think there's definitely a big conspiracy going on. Big conspiracy with the soap. 21st of February, local prison, cell 9. We're going to talk to him very briefly before I end the episode. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, has the police finished questioning you now?
Look upstairs, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Oh, yes?
What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me?
Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Holmes.
He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Oh, cursed, I'm cursed, I tell you.
Well, that sort of hurts.
Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too.
Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news.
Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. That's the way you phrased it's gonna make him freak out more.
Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's, great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
That's terrible! Oh. I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly, wrong end of the stick. Okay. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Ugh, that selfish shyster. Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you are going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William. Okay.
Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspear was never actually dead in the first place.
Oh, yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh. Oops.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspear, didn't you?
Just tell us. I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
Who do you think I am, you idiot? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
I'll reach through these bars and strangle you.
Oh, oh, why am I cursed like this?
Because you deserve it. You're so annoying. Oh, I don't want you as a client anymore. I don't want you. Why? So annoying. You know what? It's fine. It's over. This episode, I mean. We will deal with him in the next episode. I can't with you no more, man. The time is here at last. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye-bye.